Let's talk Love Not Tale. This isn't a sauce that you can input on that website, but this 26-page story is from the artist Homunculus. The first page shows us our main two protagonists about to do the do, but it cuts away to our protagonist and his friend and a classmate. Tokiwa, the male main protagonist, was having a very exciting dream that he always seems to be having, but then our second protagonist shows up, the chairman of the class, Kuragano Yayo. She wants to talk somewhere preferably crowded. They go out to the schoolyard, and Kuragano asks why Tokiwa is always staring at her with a dirty look in his eyes. He tries to deny it, but realizes that if it goes on, there's gonna always be that pounding in his chest. So he tells her why he has been, and it's because every time he looks at her, his brain feels on fire. His body loses control, and he swears he doesn't intend to do anything to her. In which Kuragano believes him. She falls to the ground and she feels the same way, because every time they are near each other, they get these unbearable urges. So they think it's some kind of spell. We get a flashback to a field trip they took last week to a shrine along a beaten path. They stood before a small shrine and someone told them a matchmaker would cast a spell on visitors, and if two pulled a rock from a basket that were identical shape, the spell would be in effect. So Kuragano and Tokiwa pulled rocks that looked like they were split in half by a sword. They can't really say it was from a god, but it is an explanation for it. They don't really have feelings for each other either, and Kuragano just decides to kill my boy here, like, come on bro. So to make sure they don't fall into a misunderstanding, they devise a plan to keep in contact with each other so they don't run into each other. But as long as there's other people around, they can somewhat stay in control. But Tokiwa is curious about something else, like how she can stay so calm in this clearly unnatural situation. But Tokiwa has it all wrong, because Kuragano is having a hard time keeping her clothing in line. Then we cut to when the two are in gym class. Kuragano is playing volleyball, and Tokiwa is sitting along the wall with his head down talking with a friend. Tokiwa is also having an inner monologue, and how Kuragano is a model student, being cute, smart, mature, and doesn't deny her own popularity, which I can so relate to. I mean, come on, I'm that totally popular kid at school, guys. Come on, you got just believe me on this. But then we get another cut to them in a classroom where they're forced to sit next to each other. Tokiwa is trying to calm himself down and not flip out in front of everyone, but thankfully he managed to get through it. Tokiwa goes to the bus thinking to himself the amount of exciting dreams he's had and when the spell is about to end. But on the bus is Kuragano, so he freaks out. She couldn't get on her bus because of the rain, so now they're forced into a situation where they are centimeters away from each other. Kuragano tells him to back off, but instead she kisses him. And as the bus is making a turn, Tokiwa cops a feel of dead ass, and they kiss as the bus is pulling up to a stop. Tokiwa calls Kuragano later and apologizes for what he did, and he tells her about what happened a long time ago, when he kissed a girl he really liked without permission, because he thought the feelings were mutual, but he ended up hurting her instead. Then we hear something kind of surprising. Kuragano is actually happy to be stuck in this mess with him, and if not, Kuragano would have just locked herself up in her room. So they end the call and we see Tokiwa walking in school the next day. Then we see Kuragano standing in front of the lockers. Tokiwa first observes if anyone is around, which there isn't, and Kuragano suddenly collapses. Tokiwa runs over to see if she's alright, but Kuragano set him up, because if she did that, Tokiwa would have definitely walked up to her. Kuragano has hit her limit. So they do the do in the nurse's office, and it's the first time, so this is bound to be interesting, and go in for round 2. Then they change scenery and move outside. They get a time leap to 1 month later, where people are talking about the shrine and what kind of god watches over it. Not even the locals know it's a matchmaker shrine. But it doesn't matter, because Tokiwa and Kuragano are still going at it. The spell was never lifted, but they can't start dating officially or behaving normally either. The reason they can't is because if they do hang out more than they already do, they only would be doing the do. And the sauce ends with this panel of Tokiwa thinking he's the only one down about this. Overall, I rate this a 10 out of 10. It had a good story, good foreshadowing, and a good plot. I had a really good time reading it, so I hope you read it for yourself. But that's all I got. I'll see you in the next one.
Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul. These hentai babes make me drool. Hasune Biku is great. She makes me masturbate. Fairy tale.